Hello. I just wanted to quickly go over this week's holdings. I know we have lots of questions within the Retire on Dividends Discord, and I know I tend to leave screenshots of these a lot, but I don't know, they can get lost in the details within all the text messages and stuff. And I know a lot of people are asking for strike prices, so I just thought I would go over this. I may end up changing this format as I'm constantly changing spreadsheets to try and make them better. However, just to give a quick overview, so obviously in our bluish color on the right, we have the holdings and information, and then on the left is like a little summary with some of the prices brought in. So you can see here at the top you have the first example. I'll go into more detail on this one, and then the rest of them we'll just try to quickly go through. But AIYY and the price right below it, that those white lines go to the yellow one above it. So we have the price. Now, these prices will be as of close on Friday. So the price on the close of Friday was $17.31 for AIYY, and the NAV for the holdings that were posted from Friday was $17.33. And then the stock price for AI, the underlying, was $28.73. And then the next one here, we have the max strike price, which is just to be able to quickly look at things. In this case, it's our only weekly call strike price, but you can see it on the right. I've added a column for the synthetic and weekly there. So you can see that weekly, which that will expire this Friday. So we have a short trading week, but it will expire Friday, and the strike price on that one is $31. And you can see we have a little over 6,000 contracts. They'll probably add to those throughout the week, should we have more buy-in to those this week. But back over to the left, we have in blue there. I made that a different color just so I could easily see it as I scroll down. And this is just the difference between the close of Friday AI price of $28.73 and then our max strike price. So we're $2.27 from that strike price. And then we have in the purple, just some other information if you want to know. We have the total net assets for AIYY, the shares outstanding, and then we also have the weekly market value. I had this before as all the options, and then I just changed it to just show the weekly. So here, if you look over to the right, if you look at that weekly call, and you go all the way over to the right, you'll see that market value at $278,183. So those match in this case because there's only one line. But if it wasn't and it was multiple lines, like you'll see on the next one, it'll just add just those weekly amounts. So I know I went over that in more detail, but the long story short is our max strike price for AI is 31, and as of close Friday, we were $2.27 from that. So go down to AMDY. You can see here where our price was $21.67, our NAV was $21.62, and the AMD price on Friday at close was $173.87, and the current max strike price was $190. However, in this case, if you look over to the right, you can see that we have 3 different weekly calls with different strike prices. So yeah, our max is $190. However, here that's only for 130 shares. Okay, so if you look above that, we have 2 other strike prices. We have a $185 strike price with over 2,000 shares, and then we have a $187.50 strike price with over 2,000 shares. So we have 3 different strike prices here, but those 2 lower ones have the higher amount of shares there. As of the close on Friday, though, our weekly market values there for weekly calls was about 675,000. So our strike price there, again, that max was 190. With that 190 to 173, it was a $16 difference. However, there's not that many contracts, so if we look at the 187 and 185, we're looking at about 11 to 13 or so dollar difference between those. So we got a little bit of space there. So we'll go down to AMZ. Our price was $22.34 for AMZ on Friday. Our Amazon strike price, our Amazon price was at $169.51 with the max strike of $175 and the difference of $5.50. But if we look over to the right, again, we're going to see there's two different strikes here. But in this case, that 175 has our higher amount of shares at 2,000. And then we have a lower one there at 172.50 that has about 900 shares. And our, as of Friday, our weekly calls market value is negative 250K. And I might not have said that before. Sorry, on the AMD with a negative 675K. Okay, let's go on down to AAPL. Our price was $18.03, closed Friday. Our Apple stock price was $182.31 with the max strike price of $190. I did not change this formula. Sorry about that. So I'll have to go back and change this. I changed some of these formulas this week. Clearly, I didn't do it throughout. So actually, our max weekly strike price is $185. So it did the max between these bottom ones, which our other one is actually our synthetic. So our max weekly call is $185, which then that points out the fact that our synthetic is actually $190. So if we have our max strike price of $185, or our only weekly strike price, and the Apple of $182, we're about $2.70 away from that. So I will update this. I'll do that later though. We'll just go on down here to our market. Our weekly market value is about 300,000, negative 300,000 at the end of the week. So moving on to Coney, retire on dividends already covers this, but just to quickly go over this, the price was $23.32. Coin was $180.31 with the max and only strike price of $205, with the difference of between the coin price and the max price were about $25, and we're at about a negative 3.2 million on Friday with that. We'll just go on down to Disney, and so Dizzo is $22.24 on Friday. The Disney stock price was at $111.60 with a max of $115. However, if we look over here to the right, we have three different strike prices for our weekly calls. We have a 113, a 114, and a 115. We don't have as many shares in this one. I guess this one isn't as loved as some of the other ones. So you're only looking about 300 or 200 shares for each one of those. So if we're looking back over at the price, we're looking at about $1 to $3 difference between the price on Friday versus those strike prices. And our weekly market value was sitting at little under negative 40,000 there on Friday. Again, so when we look at these holdings, they're always delayed. And of course, we haven't even opened up for this week yet. But moving on to Meta, so FBY was $22.70 on Friday. Meta itself was at $473.32 with a max strike price of $500, which gives us a difference of almost $27 between those. But if we go over to the right, we see that we have three weekly calls there. So we have 480, 485, which has our most number of shares there at 600. And then our 500 strike price only has 30 shares. And our weekly market cap values of Friday was negative 228,000. Moving on down to Google, we have GUI that was $16.75, Google at $140.52 with the max strike price. Again, I'm going to have to go through and change my formula there, but sorry, the max weekly strike price is $146. So the difference there is about $5.50. But if we look over here, we have three different strike prices. We have 144, 145, and 146. So for Google, our strike prices were about $3.50 to $5.50 there. But we see our 144 only has 35 shares. So our 145 and 146 have 800 shares apiece. So our weekly market value for those calls on Friday was negative 69,000. And most of these weekly calls are probably going to be negative, just to let you know, until the week starts. Then it'll start fluctuating. So if we move on down to JPM, JPMO was price of 2064. JPM at a price of 179 with a max strike of 182, so about 350 difference there. But as we can see over on the right, we have two weekly call strike prices of one at 180 with 150 shares and one with 182.50 at 260 shares. So with our lower strike price, we're less than $1 from that one for those 150 shares. So our weekly market value, we're at negative 32,000. So we're going to go on down to Moderna, MRNY. The price was at $18.20 on Friday, with mRNA stock price of $88.37 with our max. And again, that's wrong. So our max weekly call strike price is $98. So we're about $10 from that one. But again, you can see here, so our synthetics are actually at 105. So we're a little bit off there, but we still got a whole month. So that's March 15th. Anything can happen over the next month. So our weekly market value for our calls there is negative 280. So we go down to Microsoft. We have MSFO at 2214. And we have Microsoft itself at $404.06 on Friday with the max strike price of $415 for that weekly call. You can see that our synthetic is actually $420. So we're $15 under our synthetic. But our weeklies are at $412.50 and $415, and we're about 400 shares apiece there. So we'll see how this week goes. Of course, we have our weekly market value of a negative 111K. So we move on down to Netflix. We have Netflix at $18.58. We have Netflix at $583.95 with a max weekly call of 605 at 505 shares, with a negative 104,000 weekly market value. We go on down to NVDA. We have NVIDIA at $25.97. NVIDIA at $726, and our weekly max strike price for our call of $820. We only have one strike there, and the shares are at 2,635 shares. We have quite a bit of shares on this one. Of course, Friday's market value for those weekly calls was negative 3.3 million. Oh, and I didn't mention the difference here. Sorry. I don't think I did on the last one either. But, I mean, we're almost at $100 difference between the NVIDIA and the max strike price. So we have $93.87. If we go on down to OARC, we have OARC at $33.34 on Friday, with ARC at $50.33. So our only weekly call strike price was $52.50, or is, and it has quite a bit of shares, over 13,000 shares. So our weekly market value for those is negative 465,000, and we're about $2 away from our strike price there. If we go on down to PayPal, we have PYPL at $18. And PayPal itself was at $59.14 with our max weekly call of $61. And then we also have a $60 one, but our $61 one there is only 75 shares. Our $60 one is over 1,500 shares. So we're less than $1 from that 1,500 share $60 strike price. And of course, almost $2 away for those 75 shares at $61. Our weekly market value there would be a negative 120K. Move on down to Square. We have SQY at $20.51. We have Square at $65.64 with a max strike price and only strike price of $76 with over 5,000 shares. So we're about $10 from that strike price for the week. And if we go down, we have a weekly market value of negative 701K. Moving down to Tesla, we had $9.16 on Friday, with Tesla being at just under $200 with the max strike price of $200 for the weekly call, not our synthetic there. So we're right at the money there for that one weekly call that we have at 200. We have 42,000 shares. And our weekly market value as of Friday was almost negative 20 million for that weekly call. If we move on down to Zomo, we have XOMO at $17.40, and Exxon was $103.73 with our max and only weekly call of a strike price of $103. And unfortunately with this one, this is usually the case. They're usually right at it, which really has hurt the stock price, or the ETF price. But we had that weekly call at $103 with over 1,000 shares there. So as you can see here, I have the difference. We're already maxed out. So on Friday, that we were over our strike price at the end before we closed, and we're over about 73 cents. And our weekly market value was negative 173,000. And then the bottom, we just have our holdings for our YMAG. So obviously we don't have strike prices there, but you can see here that our holdings, we have over 17 million for YMAG, and YMAG's price on Friday was $20.01. And then if we go down to YMAX, it was $20.59 with our net assets being over 48 million. And we don't actually have, I will look at this also. So it should be adding summing P. So it does show 48,000 there. Oh, well, I did go down into cash. Let's just go up 147. And for some reason that's showing, okay, because I don't have this one going all the way down. This has gone down further. So what I'll do here is just make this even bigger because we have nothing else below it. And that we know we're going to have more, we're going to have new ETFs come in. So there we go. So now that is very close to that there. We're within, I don't know why, it's like $100 and something off there. So anyway, that's just a quick overview. I don't know if this is helpful for anybody. I know, like, when I drive, I'm not looking at the screen, so I'm just listening. So I don't mind things being read to me or read off to me versus me having to find data. Of course, if you don't want to listen to all this, you could just go back and just pause it and look at the screen and then fast forward. So however you want to do it. I know I've thought about doing this for a few weeks and I've never gotten around to it. But just let me know if you like seeing this or if you want to see it in a different format or whatever. This is the first time trying this one. So, anyway, everybody have a good day, and then hopefully we will have a good week. I guess it really depends on NVIDIA's earnings and how things go. But anyway, everybody have a good week. Bye.